Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I am your host, Sean Garmer, here with me as usual, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And well, it happened. We said it, it was probably going to be the big topic of the show on last week's episode. The Developer Direct occurred. We got the big surprise announcement of Ninja Gaiden 4, plus the shouted up of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and the other three games that we already knew were going to show. So we'll give our general thoughts on the Direct and then the games. And also, Phil Spencer did some interviews on a few podcasts, kind of talking about the future of Xbox and why you should buy the console, the next console anyway, and plans about games coming, not coming, whatever. The things that we've heard many times, but he went on and talked about them again. And a few other Xbox notes. Gears now has a co-developer, Gears E-Day. And some other things on Xbox. Also some things with Sony. Ted Price retiring from Insomniac. News about the Horizon MMO game. Also some other things. Mark is going to be talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on PC and more right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so just go ahead and get this out of the way here with the housekeeping. We do appreciate y'all, whether you watch live, watch later on demand, or listen later on podcasts. That's great that you do. We appreciate that. You can watch us live. So if you're, subscribe and ring the bell, you'll get a notification when we go live on YouTube, W2M Network Facebook, and Twitch, W2M Network on those as well. You can watch us live. It's always Monday evenings or say. And if not, you can always watch later on demand as well on YouTube. It goes up right after we end the live showing. And then you can also listen later. It comes out pretty quickly right after we do the live on YouTube. You can listen on podcasts as well. So go check us out there. Just go look for us on Video Games to the Max on the podcasts, wherever there are podcasts you like to listen to, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, all that stuff. You can listen to us on those and many more places. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can also get our other shows that we do. So if you enjoy anime, you get our anime show, Otaku Cafe. They pretty much keep up with all the seasonal anime and talk about a lot of different ones each week. So if you like to keep up with the seasonal anime, the winter season going on right now, be sure to check them out. You can go listen on podcasts as well, Otaku Cafe, and then Ratchet Broadcasting, doing all the movies, TV shows, all that stuff. They just reviewed the Star Wars Skeleton Crew TV show. They did a Wolfman review as well, some other stuff. So go check them out if you're into the entertainment side of things. So that's about it. I also did a demo impressions on a game that I'm also reviewing. I'm not going to talk about it because technically they don't want us to talk about any part of the game, but I did a demo impressions for Big Helmet Heroes. So if you want to go check that out on Outer Haven, I have the link in the description. Did you do your review for Rebirth on PC?
Yep.
Yeah.
I submitted it yesterday, but it probably won't be up for a few days.
All right, I'll check on that while we're doing the show here. So with that said, let's go ahead and get going here with the Xbox Developer Direct 2025 edition. I think this is probably the best one. I know there's not a lot to go on. They've only had 3 of these. But as far as like the quality of games, giving you firm release dates on 3 of the 4. 3 of the 4 are coming out pretty quickly here in the winter to spring-ish time.
Yeah.
The big surprise, like I said, was Ninja Gaiden 4, which hey, credit to you. You're the one that said it was probably going to be Ninja Gaiden. And not only Ninja Gaiden 4, but also Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which is basically a remaster of Ninja Gaiden 2, but now done in a Unreal 5 with spicy graphics. And this is the definitive edition of Ninja Gaiden 2 now, which obviously, those of you that have heard, I did a review of the Master Collection that released, and it's also on Game Pass. That has the Sigma 1 and 2, which are considered inferior versions of Ninja Gaiden. They're the, like, I guess, easier versions of the game. So if you want to play, which you can buy Ninja Gaiden, the original, the Xbox original, Ninja Gaiden Black on Xbox for it's on sale for $5 right now. So if you want to go play Ninja Gaiden 1 Black and then also go play Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, you can do that. It was cool that we got that shadow drop on Game Pass, but what'd you think of what they showed in Ninja Gaiden 4 with the new protagonist and all that?
That looked good. Like, that's actually kind of the highlight for me, because Platinum's doing it. It looks like good Platinum, not bad Platinum.
Yeah,
it's extremely in their wheelhouse. Revengeance or Nier or even Vanquish to an extent. So looks good. Like, one of the bosses really looked like Nier also, because it was like some female-looking robot with like red energy spheres coming out of her. I'm like, yep, I know what Platinum this is. I don't really care about the hero necessarily, because I'm sure like it'll be different. It's not going to be like, oh, pick whatever hero you want. It'll switch between both of them at different, depending on the story. It seems fine.
there's a dual. At first, I thought I was like, okay, are they gonna do the Raiden version of this, or we're just gonna not be around for 10 years and then we're gonna come out with a new protagonist that nobody knows?
Right.
Kind of weird to do that, and then later in the trailer they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna play as Ryu Hayabusa as well, and they showed off his typical big moves, and I was all in after that. I mean, it looks really flashy. Yeah,
he did the Sparrow drop, so that's all you need to know.
Exactly. That's what you definitely need to know that he did. Some of the bosses look awesome as well, and then hey, it definitely looks like it's going to have more of that Platinum Games kind of flair with the Team Ninja kind of Neo influences there too. So I'm sure it still has the flashy combat, and maybe it's a little bit slowed down compared to what
No,
we've
it looked
got
even
with
it
yeah.
looks like faster. I mean, that's what they were kind of harping on, which is fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's actually good. But
I mean, that's what matters. But I think definitely it's going to be good. I don't think we need to necessarily worry about that too much. It has the English voice acting as well, which is cool. So, yeah, fall 2025. I'm sure we'll get the release date probably like during the summer showcase thing. By then,
the story kind of made me chuckle, because they're like, oh, Tokyo is in ruins because the Dark Dragon is reigning or whatever. And this made me wonder, like, what's the rest of the world look like? It'd be funny if the rest of the world is just like fine.
The dark rot or whatever that is happening there.
From the rain, but it'd be funny if like all the rest of the world is like fine.
Like definitely, right?
So yeah, look good.
That's going to be on Game Pass as well. So, at first I thought this was going to be kind of like last year where Visions of Mana was shown and it was not Game Pass, which I think is the only time so far in the 3 years that they've had a game that was shown that wasn't Game Pass. And I mean, Ninja Gaiden 2, okay, I kind of understand, because that was originally that was an Xbox game that then got ported over to PS3, and then they showed that Xbox is publishing Ninja Gaiden 4, so it's like, okay. And apparently, according to Phil Spencer during one of the interviews, he said, this is why he was going to Japan, was they were actually kind of, trying to get everybody together with Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja and Platinum to be able to do this. So.
Where is Itagaki? No.
Right, yeah. And he said it started way back in 2017. So not sure when the actual dev cycle started, but the fact that they started like talking and everything all the way back then, That's kind of crazy that they were able to keep this kind of secret for so long, both of these games really, and like not have any of it leak. I mean, yes, there was people that were really speculating that it was going to be Ninja Gaiden as we got closer and stuff like that, but it was never like, oh, it's leaked, it's officially this, right? Which is very rare nowadays. So pretty cool for them to kind of be able to keep that under wraps. And then I felt bad for South of Midnight to come after two really flashy games.
So I actually just watched this direct like an hour ago or like an hour and a half ago.
Okay.
I think that game looks bad, and there's two reasons why. I think the stop motion cinematics are kind of iffy, let's say,
Okay.
compared to like the actual gameplay, and like I guess this is the first time I kind of really watched the gameplay and like what they're kind of trying to say. It reminds me. Did you ever play Imagine and the Forsaken Kingdom?
Yeah, I played that for a little bit. Yeah.
It reminded me a little of that, but the big game this game reminds me of is Forspoken, Forspoken.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying the Forspoken, but
that's not good. Like, I mean,
but the comment doesn't seem like Forspoken. It feels like people are saying Forspoken because it has the black.
No, I mean that's partially like the black main actress or main character, like kind of being sucked from the real world into like this fantasy world. That makes a chunk, but like even like it's not really the parkour, but like the combat looks very Forspoken like. The fact that you have this like what was it? Crawfish or some type of fish thing.
The catfish that you kind of ride around. Right.
That's like the Imagine thing to me, because you had the like Golan guy in that thing, who was like the combat basically in that thing. But like, it's like this. Okay, like.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see that as well. I don't necessarily. I don't think you're going to get the at least. I don't know if you're going to get the thing with the cuff and the main character that was kind of annoying.
Hopefully not, but yeah.
Definitely, I don't think that combat is probably this game's strong suit. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it does look kind of like, okay, you're just like walking up to the character, you're gonna do some kind of flashy moves and stuff like that. The bosses do look cool, which I think is neat. Like the whole I think you're coming to this for the characters, the whole atmosphere around it, the folklore. Maybe the story is going to be good when it's all said and done. I don't necessarily think the combat is going to be the most memorable thing about this game. It's also apparently really, it's also kind of a shorter game. It's also like 8 to 10 hours. So, which I think is better for Compulsion because, we know what happened with We Happy Few. They kind of tried to make that game much longer than it probably should have been. And that kind of hurt it. The longer you're playing that game, the more you see its faults. So yeah, if they kind of keep this snappy and they don't sit there and try to have you do like a gazillion side quests and whatever and get you through to the story that they want to tell, I think that will keep it from that. I think that would keep it like around still a good game, or very good game instead of being what happened with We Happy Few necessarily. So.
Right. Even the contrast didn't like blow the doors off, or So.
Yeah, no, it didn't either. You're right about that. Which that was another one that like looked really cool and everything. It's just the gameplay was kind of
right.
Then after that, they showed us a lot of France to show us the mansion that their Stanfo Interactive is making. Clear Obscure Expedition 33, which obviously is the RPG inspired by Final Fantasy and other JRPGs. This is also apparently not. It's got a budget price on it, and it's not a 50, 60-hour game that you're used to with these RPGs. It's a much shorter game, like supposed to be like 30 hours, maybe 25 to 30 hours, which honestly with with all the big long games that we had last year and stuff like that, I welcome a shorter RPG that I may be able to actually finish. Um, it still looks cool. The story is obviously, I think, for me, like really intriguing. That's what's gonna grab me. They showed a lot of the like systems that are in there. Like there's a whole menu of like passive abilities apparently you can like
That
put on.
that looked really nuts. Or like I
Yeah,
was like, this looks overwhelming. Like
because I mean, definitely you can tell like there's double A influences in here. Like some of this stuff kind of doesn't look as crisp as say you're gonna talk about Rebirth later that maybe isn't gonna hit that, but still I think if they can deliver a great experience, also like the like baboon party member that they kind of add here at the end too. He looks kind of cool.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm down for this game. I was excited the first time we saw it. Seeing more of it. I wonder how big the actual like exploring in the world is going to be. Because again, people are kind of used to like these. Is it going to be more like open zone? Is this like we're just seeing a small part of this, and it's not necessarily this big huge world or whatever. I'm interested to see like when we get to the actual game how much more of this, and then obviously the combat is awesome if it actually delivers on how cool it actually looks when we play it. So
yeah,
um
yeah. I'm excited for that too. Like if it's like 30 or 40 hours, that should be good. It'll be 30 or 40
yeah,
bucks. So
for sure. So aside, then they ended everything with Doom the Dark Ages, which is a prequel to Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. And then they kind of showed off that this game is the antithesis of both of those games. Um, it's
I mean, they're like
slower.
good.
Yeah. Well, Doom Eternal was really good. It's just I think a lot of people didn't. The reason why I think they went in the direction that they went in for this game is that there's a lot of people complaining about it was too fast.
Right.
Too much jumping. They didn't want to be doing that necessarily. And then you get uh the like the whole story thing and the background to that and everything else, which uh I thought that looked really cool. They showed off the mech dragon thing that you're gonna be able to ride in this, which looks pretty awesome. Anything you said it like that. The reason why is it's going to be good. Why you say it's going to
No, I was
be?
kidding. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't like any. I don't think I actually like any Doom.
Okay. Fair enough.
Like maybe like the first one, like the Super Nintendo. I mean, that's what I played it on. But like, I didn't like Doom 2016 at all. I think I like stopped playing it with like a half hour or maybe like an hour. I'm like, this is kind of boring to me. I didn't play Eternal. Uh, their whole context sensitive thing seems a little weird in this one for like the shield. Like, and the fact they have like three melee weapons and they don't functionally, they all kind of like look like they were doing the same thing. So it's like, why even have this? Uh, and when he threw out the shield, it reminded me of like the Razor Wind from Turok 2. Uh,
Fair enough.
yeah, that's a timely reference, I'm sure. Uh, but I guess it looks fine, I guess, but I just don't like their way, their brand of like first person shooter necessarily. So we'll see. And if it has Ramirez head in it, I mean, I may give it a shot, but
Fair enough. I mean, I know it's not for everybody. I'm kind of on the other side where I really enjoy Doom. So let's see how if this one strikes that perfect balance where like Eternal was really well liked, but the fast gameplay and it didn't necessarily work for everybody. And then 2016 was kind of liked as well, but I don't remember getting like a lot of the press that Eternal did. Obviously, Eternal is kind of also more well known because it was along with Animal Crossing was like the first game that came out when the pandemic really started. We were all sitting at the house,
right.
so that's kind of a thing as well. But I think overall, where did you sit with this? Like, as far as like, I guess, a showcase. Did you like how they do it? Them talking,
It,
the devs telling you things, and
it was fine. I guess I would preferred, maybe like 1 or 2 more games and then shorter sequences or shorter thing. Uh, the way they filmed it was kind of weird. Like, especially the first part. I don't know. They did it a few more times, but like they had that like really weird close up, like slow mo close up of
yeah, they
like,
love those. I don't know why they think that's cool.
yeah,
Um, you know, it's like we're trying to make it seem like they're going out there to play some football game or something. And
right,
it's like, yo, they're literally just walking to go to their computer. Like, it's like, I mean, you're trying to, it's not that cool, right? But I
yeah,
guess they have to spruce it up, right? Sometimes you can tell, especially like the Doom guys made fun of it, obviously, that they were kind of like reading from a script. They're not just like off the cuff giving you their thoughts. It's kind of obviously like written for them to say this and this and this, and then we're trying to, have it fit in this neat little bow of like 45-ish minutes. They
yeah.
really went long on the Ninja Gaiden part too. There was times where it's like they're redoing the same
Like,
footage again because
yeah, they didn't need to like
it
have like 5 minutes devoted to Ninja Gaiden 2 Black either. It's like, hey,
yeah,
this is out. Like, show a trailer and be like, hey, it's out now, and that'd
yeah.
be it. Not them talk about it for 5 minutes. Like, oh, it's the UE Engine 5 and all this other
I mean,
stuff.
I get it. I get it in a way. They wanted to kind of show off the whole, like, okay, this was really redone. It wasn't just, oh, we didn't just port this thing over here, or just kind of like, oh, slap some things on it here so we can call it Ninja Gaiden 2 Black.
Right.
They really did spend some time with it or whatever. So I kind of get that. And then also the whole, like, sometimes people there's a lot of talk and the whole console warish stuff about like, oh, Xbox Series can't really do Unreal Engine 5 and all that stuff. And I think that was kind of them trying to be like, oh, yes, we can. Here we go. I don't know about Series S doing a lot of great stuff with that, but at least, Series X definitely can handle it. So, I mean, I thought for sure this was like a 9 out of 10 showcase for the 45 minutes. You got boom, 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 4 games. I'm excited for all of them. You've got April 8th, April 24th, May 15th, back to back to back, basically. Interesting that they chose to like make the gap shorter between. I mean, I understand that Clear Obscure, and maybe they don't necessarily control when it comes out because it's a third party technically.
Right.
But
Well, so it's so is Ninja Gaiden Black. So
right, but Ninja Gaiden Black, okay, that's in the fall. I mean, they still got
right.
they said that it's like what 80% done or something like that. They still got time to cook on that. But
Yeah.
they do control South of Midnight and Doom, and it's like it's weird that you left the shortest amount of time between between the RPG that takes around 30 to 40 hours to Doom instead of doing it the other way around, where it's like if South of Midnight is supposed to be like 8 to 10 hours, I would have made the gap shorter between South of Midnight and Doom instead of Clair Obscure and give you a little bit more time if you want to go people to go day one on all of those. But definitely, I mean, that's good that in the time that we're still waiting on what's going to happen. I mean, we're going to know what's announced by then for Nintendo and the Switch 2. But while we're
Yeah.
sitting there waiting for when that console's going to release and stuff, and Xbox is really going to be the talk of the town. It feels like this year with you got Avowed February 18th, then you don't have to wait that long before you get to South of Midnight. There might be something else in between there as well in March. And then, you get Clair Obscure and Doom after, and you still got, let's see what happens with Fable. Let's see what happens with Gears. I don't think, I would be astonished if both those games come out this year.
Ever.
I think one of them's getting delayed. It feels
Not
like,
just
do you need to
not as
have
stable.
every yeah, do you need to have every banger coming out this year? I don't necessarily think you do. there is a report going around that supposedly Gears E-Day is coming out sooner than a lot of people expect. So maybe Gears E-Day is going to be the November game, and then they would push Fable out to next year, kind of like they did with the Avowed, where it's like, okay, we already got enough. We don't need to have both of them. And then you have something else, coming in between there that, maybe we just don't know about yet, or whenever they're doing that Oblivion remake, which seems like it's kind of just a matter of when they announce it and not if anymore, but we'll see. Also, moving on from that to another, some Xbox stuff here, because like I said, Phil Spencer, and I'm sorry for people that are like always watch us and stuff. We're going to talk about stuff that we've kind of talked about a bunch of times, because it feels like every time we talk about Xbox, this kind of stuff always has to come up, right? Which is understandable in a way. People want these answers, but also I feel like, how many times is Phil Spencer going to say pretty much the same thing until people kind of get it? This is the most you're going to get when it comes to him answering the question of what's going over to PS5 and what's not, kind of thing. Really quick before we get to that, they did announce the what's coming to Xbox Game Pass for the rest of this month, and then the first week of February. Oh, I lost Mark there for a second. So tomorrow, Eternal Strands is out. I'll actually have a link in the description. Keith actually reviewed that for the Outer Haven, gave it a pretty good score. So you can go read that at your leisure, but it looks like it's going to be a pretty good game, at least, and for it being on Game Pass, that's a pretty good get there. Orcs Must Die Death Trap, which is the newest Orcs Must Die, is also coming out the same day tomorrow. It's going to be on Game Pass. Also, Sniper Elite Resistance is coming on the 30th. That's going to be on Game Pass, which is the next iteration of Sniper Elite, but it really is almost like an expansion of 5. It has a lot of the same stuff.
Which is an expansion of 4, which is it's not like they're not reinventing the wheel over there. So
the 31st sees Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector, which is Citizen Sleeper 1 was like one of those big indie hits. So let's see if this one's going to repeat the same thing. Mostly, there's a lot of games that have already been out that are now going to be on Game Pass Standard. The ones that I would really pay attention to kind of is, if you haven't played Kinetsugami Path of the Goddess, definitely go play that. There's also Chia, which was on PS Plus when it first came out, and it's out there. In the Case of the Golden Idol, if you like those detective games, definitely worth checking out there for sure. And then I know you didn't like this, Mark, and I know I probably wouldn't like it either. Far Cry New Dawn is going to be the February 4th game. I guess Ubisoft is just giving that out there, so they're probably not going to move a lot of units there. That's the isn't it like almost like the would have been DLC?
I didn't play that one. I don't think. I think that's like the co-op one.
Yeah, no, that's the co-op. That's the one that came after 5.
Okay, yeah, I did play this. I did play this one with the stupid twins.
The 2 twins, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then I would mention if you haven't bought or played Death's Door, definitely go do that. It's leaving on January 31st. Great indie game that everybody should go check out for sure. And if you like puzzle games, Maquette's pretty good as well. So that's it for the Game Pass stuff. So definitely, as you're probably watching or listening to this, Eternal Strands is out. You can go play that, and then some of the other games will be out in a couple of days afterwards. Starting with the Phil Spencer stuff. There's 2 podcasts that he did interviews with, basically almost at the one after the other, and then they released them on their own time frame. One with Destin Legary, who recently left IGN and decided to do his own thing on YouTube and Patreon, and then oh my god, Danny Pena in Paris, with their, why can't I think of the name? Gamertag Radio. They've been around since like one of the first ever gaming podcasts since like 2004 or 2005. It's, they've had Phil Spencer on a couple of times. They had him on for his 1,000th episode and all that stuff, and now they had him on for this. So the consensus with both of them was they asked the question of what's going to happen with games going over to PS5? Are there more games going? Destin asked specifically about Starfield. Phil Spencer basically kind of reiterated that same thing that we've talked about a bunch of times about the no red line. No, I'm not going to put a fence around certain games. We are not going to gatekeep games away from any system where they can gain fans or possible players. We are going to support Switch 2. He's already talked to Furukawa personally, he said. So we know that those rumors that of games that are coming to Switch 2 are probably more than not likely true. But he's not going to say, no, that game's not going to come, but he's also not going to say, oh, definitely this game is coming. I've seen a lot of people complain that he should be telling people when games are coming, like when specific games are coming. That what if I buy the game on Xbox or whatever? What if I'm waiting for that game to show up? And now I don't know, and the waiting game continues. Like, where do you? To me, I feel like number one, he doesn't owe you an answer, and then number two, it takes away some of the mystery of when they actually announce it. People get excited if he just goes and tells you straight off, oh, on April 20 something, we're getting Starfield. On June 15th, you're getting Halo Master Chief Collection. Like, where do you land on that? Do they need to just give you the whole slate right now, or they need to just do the thing that they've been doing?
I mean, you literally just praised them for their developer direct for them doing 3 concrete release dates. So,
well, but these are games that have already been out. They're just deciding when they're going to PlayStation 5 or Switch 2. I mean, like, why do we need to have concrete dates for that if they're going at all?
The reason they don't want to give concrete dates is they're still trying to milk Xbox fans to hopefully buy, or people who might have both consoles, like, hey, hopefully buy Starfield on the Xbox, like once they go, hey, it comes out May 24th or whatever, it's like, all right, well, whatever people left would be buying Starfield for the Xbox, they're not going to buy now.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess I would like it, but I also don't know what games are coming, and I still think that their whole philosophy of like no boundaries or no fences, or we only have the dog training fence for Forza or whatever. Like, it's like, why do you have a console then? Like, Sega got out when the Dreamcast flopped, or when several consoles flopped, and they're like, all right, fuck it, and now they're probably in a better position than they were back then. So, yeah.
I mean, they're still making consoles because why not? Why not give people an opportunity to still play? I mean, for one, I think Game Pass doesn't work if you don't have the console. That's where most of the people
because their whole philosophy is like, oh, you can play it on your TV, you can play it on your phone,
Right, but the majority of the people that are subscribed to Game Pass, which they need that revenue stream, are on console, and they want to play games that way, and it's still the leading.
Right. Well, cut out the console and put Game Pass on PS5.
He kind of says that actually. His answer to that is, we want to be able to give the best experience, Xbox experience possible, but we can't because some places are closed. Nintendo and Sony.
Because you're fucking competitors. But if you eliminate the console, you're not competitors anymore. Then you're cooperators.
Well, I mean, he's really a cooperator that's also has a console. It's just Sony and Nintendo are not going to allow Game Pass on their consoles.
Yeah,
there's
it
not.
will. Well, Nintendo won't, but Sony will if there's not an Xbox console.
I think
I mean,
Sony.
hell, Ubisoft,
Yeah.
their stupid, membership platform is on PS5. EA, whatever that thing is called, is on PS5. Like, this ain't hard. I'm sure if EA made a console, that would be ripped off on PS5 day one. It'd be like the second they announce it, they're like, okay, no more EA membership program on PS5. Why? Because they're competitors now.
Right, but I definitely think that the more and more these games come to PS5, and if every single look at they release the top games of the whole year, and Sea of Thieves is on there on
Right.
PlayStation. So let's say you release Starfield, you release Gears 1 Ultimate Edition, Halo Master Chief Collection, Halo 5, whatever, Forza Horizon 5, and they all sell like crazy on PlayStation. I think the more that keeps happening, I think Sony starts seeing that, oh, Xbox is really trying to work with us. They just want to sell. They want to sell. However,
okay.
yeah.
It's the same argument I have with like the Epic Game Store versus Steam, and this happened with Final Fantasy, obviously. But let's say Forza Motorsport 5 sells. I'm going to use just basic numbers here. Five copies on Xbox, and it goes to PS5, and then it sells 15. Shouldn't that tell Xbox, like, hey, why bother making this one at all when you could make it for PS5 and sell 20, or sell even more?
I mean,
because
yeah.
the cost of like making the console is immense and huge, and they're still like in the hole probably for making that. Like,
I mean, he talks about that because Paris asks him straight up, "What's the point of buying an Xbox console at this point?" And he says, "Well, pretty much."
He probably said Game Pass.
No, he
like,
didn't actually. He really didn't mention Game Pass as that. He says that they are looking to innovate with their console, and that their console is going to do something different than what Sony's console offers. I really don't know what that is at this point, other than being completely open, which he's talked about.
You know what it means?
Yeah.
Connect 3.0, making it mandatory once again.
Definitely not. But that's the only thing I can think of is that he's going to be completely open. He says they already have a deal with Epic. The only one that obviously he has Gabe right there next to him and Valve. Could they work out something where they would allow a version of SteamOS to be on Xbox? And Steam gets some kind of cut of every sale or whatever that happens to the SteamOS. I don't know, but that's the only thing I can think of is that basically the next Xbox will be a PC straight up with an Xbox OS, which they're heading there. He talks about that as well. He says, we want to build an Xbox OS so that when we have our handheld, when we have our next system, you're using a version of Windows that is basically built with Xbox in mind, so that if you want to go to a desktop with your handheld, you can, but it will be an Xbox OS thing first. And then obviously, I don't know if it's going to be open to be able to have SteamOS and other stuff on there. So
I don't even trust them to make a good OS now for computers, let alone for a console.
Well, yeah, definitely their app needs work for sure.
Well, I don't mean like that. I mean like Windows 11 sucks ass. So,
but it's the operating system that exists. It's the one, the only one.
Yeah, it's like the default one. I mean, people are talking like more and more about how SteamOS might be like on computers someday, and it's like,
yeah,
that's a nice fantasy, but no. But
we'll see. It's going to start with the portable PCs. We'll see if it keeps going well. Maybe. But I don't know. I won't rule that out.
I don't trust them to even make a good PC console or PC OS, let alone some handheld one. Like,
he says it's being worked on. We're apparently going to see something about the handheld before the end of the year.
yeah. That's
So,
what they just
yeah.
announced some partner, and they announced like Microsoft Windows 11 minimum edition or pocket edition or something, you know.
Yeah. He also talks about the reason why this whole strategy for PS5 is that it's about the creators. It's about what the devs want. That the devs want games to be everywhere because it helps them have the most sales as possible. Obviously, you know,
It's,
you
it's, the
buying.
devs
Yeah,
don't,
go ahead.
well, the devs don't want to be on Game Pass, ironically enough.
Yeah, I mean, he talks about how that's actually been kind of misconstrued. That's not. They actually fought back on that. I think they released it a couple of days after we did the last episode. He says that I think Insider Gaming had the report basically refuting a lot of that information thing that we talked about last week, essentially saying that we've shown that we have grown every period, every quarter. And part of that is also Game Pass. They're not giving out the amounts that they used to, which is
Right.
part of it.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a telltale sign. Like, I'm sure if they got 10 more people, they're going to go like, we're growing, but it's not the 100 million they wanted.
No, definitely it's not. That's part of the reason why they had to pivot over to, okay, we're going to give our games to PlayStation and Nintendo.
Right.
But it's also, I can understand they want to push things forward. They want to, again, kind of like, let's move the industry this way because everybody wants things on everything. Obviously, Nintendo is going to be on its own as long as possible because they will always see themselves as a toy company first, not necessarily anything else. I mean, look at the Switch. They didn't really have a lot of apps on that thing. So, I mean, they were all about the games for that thing. So I don't know if that's going to change much this go around either. But we'll see if they embrace some of that. At least it seems like they're embracing like voice chat or whatever, if the rumors are correct on that. But look, there's still a lot of, kind of, I'm not going to give you a straight direct answer, but I think this is the clearest he's ever been about, look, this is our strategy. Whether you like it or not, this is what we're doing. You can either get on board or you can, go do whatever it is you want. But he's basically saying, get ready because you're going to see more of this. Sony might be putting their games on PC faster. Not necessarily that they're gonna, I don't know, maybe they're gonna work with Nintendo more. Maybe Horizon's not the last one, but they don't make a lot of kiddie games either. So I don't know what they could really give Nintendo that
Lego God of War.
Yeah, like exactly. But that's the thing. He talks about a lot of that stuff. It's like why you need to own the console. We think we're going to innovate. We're going to do something different than just basically doing the same thing as Sony, but having a different box. He understands that boxes in the name. They're going to have a console for as long as possible. And he says that is also why he knows that people are worried about what happens to our games if the console ever goes away. And he says this is why we're putting it on other platforms and having everything say, which they did do at the beginning of the Developer Direct. He said, everything here is Xbox Play Anywhere and everything is on Game Pass. And that's why they want to push the Play Anywhere, because let's say the console does go away. Play Anywhere also means eventually maybe Nintendo, also means PlayStation. You buy it once on your PC and you own it on all these things because it's an Xbox product at the end of the day. So, if that is the case, right, I think that pushes maybe Sony starts doing something like that where it's like, oh, you buy it on PC, you get the PlayStation version for a discount or something like that. I don't know what their thing will be, but that's kind of what he says. I know people are mad about they want a whole list of this game's coming this day. It's not going to happen. Like Mark said, they want to continue to be able to get people to stay subscribed for these games on Game Pass or go and buy them on a sale
You know what?
or
Actually,
whatever.
if they
Yeah.
actually like had a clue, is what they should do is release. I mean, not sell the emulator, but like sell their past games on PC in an emulatable form. Like, I would pay $20 or $30 for Lost Odyssey on PC. It doesn't need to be HD remaster or anything. Just give me a basic ass port of that game, or Amped 3, or like 50 Cent Blood in the Sand.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they also have to be the publisher of that game.
Well, okay, the first two then,
I mean, yeah, Lost Odyssey, they could. They did it for the back compat. It's there, you can buy it
right,
off the store.
but it's still on like the Xbox version, or
right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'd love to see them do a wider version of this where a lot of the games that are Xbox One compatible also on PC, but I don't know if there's licensing things that they have to do. If Miss Walker then has to get involved again or whatever with that. So,
Well, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Dude doesn't want to make it, or remake it or anything. He just, but it's like, okay, you're not. This ain't custom. This ain't. You don't have any. Your participation in this is not required. Like, we are just putting this on PC in like some Xbox 360 emulator that like might be able to run it a little better, but might not.
I mean, he does also mention that as well. Like I think it's Destin legitimately asked him, like, when he talks about, okay, is everything just going to PS5 and Nintendo at this point? He said no, because there's shipped games that just aren't worth it for us to put on other systems.
I'd actually agree with that. Yeah, like Starfield.
Or I don't know about Starfield, but like, let's say, like, okay, putting Recore, which wasn't a great game, or Redfall on some of these other it's not worth it to them. It doesn't make sense.
Wouldn't it be funny though to put Redfall on PS5 and it was just like this gigantic hit?
Right,
like 2 million players or something like that, like completely blows Marvel Rivals out of the water.
The Gears Tactics game, for example,
right.
Like, I don't think that's gonna come. Even the older Gears titles, like, I think they want to wait to see, like, how does E-Day do? Is it worth it for us to? Because they're probably gonna want to remaster 2 through Judgment or whatever to put on there. Also, Gears E-Day also has a new co-developer. Their old co-developer, and People Can Fly, has returned. So it's kind of like a Perfect Dark situation with Crystal Dynamics and Initiative.
It'll take like 9 more years to come out then.
That's what also is kind of weird. Like, okay, we just announced this co-developer thing, but then we also have people talking about how apparently it's coming out sooner rather than later. So it's like, I still don't think, I would be absolutely shocked if both Gears E-Day and Fable come out this year, because it's like, dude, are you just blowing your whole load on 2025? And then, like, what do you have for next year? So
I could see E-Day hitting very late this year, like not like December 30th, but let's say December.
Yeah.
But Fable, no way.
Yeah, I could see them pushing. I could see them doing the Avowed thing and pushing Fables like February, March of next year.
I could see them doing I could see him pushing it out to like February, March of like 2029.
No, that thing's a lot farther along.
It's like, here's another trailer with Richard. I forget the guy's name.
Yeah, I know.
Moss from the IT crowd. It's like, all right, cool, I guess.
Yeah, it's just it is, at least as far as Xbox goes, what they showed, their lineup that they have. It's a weird time, because it's like, imagine if you hadn't done this whole thing where you're giving your games to PlayStation and Nintendo or whatever. It's like, now you finally have the games. Now you finally have the lineup that could actually kind of compete when Sony's down, when Sony doesn't have a bunch of games coming out, right? That you just lost a bunch of canceled projects. And like, the only thing we know that's happening that we have no idea when that's going to come out is Horizon, the multiplayer game, Fair Games, whatever Sony Santa Monica is working on that's not God of War, and whatever Cory Barlog's working on. that we don't know really. Supposedly, God of War is just going to another mythology, but we don't know when and where that's coming. So it's like,
it'll be the Christian mythology.
yeah, like Lost Prophet's not coming out anytime soon. So it's like, and worse off, Last of Us 3 is not coming out anytime soon. So it's like, this was really the time for Xbox to gain ground, and you kind of like already lost that, right? So now it's just about like, okay, well, I guess you can just deliver great games and make it worth it for people that want to have Game Pass, I guess, at that point. But look, there's a lot of stuff in those interviews. Both of them are like 35. Both of them are like around 30 minutes that you can go watch on YouTube if you want to hear the whole interview or whatever. Lots of great questions for Phil, including like what his legacy is, or where he thinks even the industry is going to be going and stuff like that. So a lot of stuff to go check out. He does mention the whole Destin asked him about the Xbox Series S compatibility thing. Like, will they remove that? And he brings up that, like, obviously Black with Wukong, the dev Game Science said that basically they blamed Series S and not having enough familiarity with that to be able to do the optimization for it. So that's why it didn't come to Xbox, supposedly. Which I can understand, right? They had to end up removing that for Baldur's Gate 3 to be able to show up on Xbox. I don't know why Black with Wukong didn't get that same treatment, but it is what it is. He says he's not going to remove it because people got to optimize for Steam Deck now. People got to optimize for ROG Ally now. People got to, Lenovo, for all the other portable PCs now. For the Sony's basically streaming to the portal, but like when the Sony handheld comes out and when the Xbox handheld comes out, they're gonna have to learn how to optimize for that too. So I guess he's like, I'm not gonna remove the compatibility thing with this because they're optimizing for more and more things now, so they kind of should be able to do it for Series S, which I kind of understand, but I feel like make exceptions for the games that just can't do it instead of not having it on your platform at all. But
also, like, the Series S is old, so they can't I mean, we can talk about it later with Final Fantasy, but like they can only optimize to a certain point.
Yeah,
where they run out of headroom and go, this is it. You either accept it or you don't.
Yeah, the RAM can't do it or whatever. And it's like, it's also interesting because it's like Series S is the console that's sold the most. So it's like they can't really say no to it because more people have Series S's than Series X's.
Right.
And they need those consoles to be able to have the latest games. Or if not, they're not gonna have a reason to have that console. Yeah, they can stream stuff, but not everybody can stream. So yeah, again, stuff worth checking out on those interviews if you want. Don't need to keep belaboring the point. There was a lot of Xbox stuff this week. It was a lot of what was the kind of commanding thing this week, but we do move on here to not Xbox stuff for a little bit. It's just getting into just really quick. We'll get into the Sony stuff, and then we'll talk about Rebirth. Also, because we have a Final Fantasy story to talk about here, two of them. But they announced today, because we just talked about Koei Tecmo, Rise of the Ronin is going to go to PC. It's going to be on Steam March 11th, 2025. It's going to cost $50 on Steam. It's going to be able to go up to 8K, support DirectX, have 120 FPS, 3D audio support, DLSS, all that stuff. So it looks like it's going to be the, I guess, definitive version of Rise of the Ronin.
Yep.
Which was a fine game.
I don't play it. Yeah, but I've heard it was good.
We know Solar Blade's eventually going to go to PC. Shiftup has said that as well. So,
Yeah.
the two Sony like second party games from last year are
What?
going to wind up on PC.
Solar Blade going to the Switch.
Yeah, I don't think so. Probably not.
Mhm.
Also, interesting that we talked about it last week that they canceled the God of War Blue Point game and the Sony Bend live service game. This is apparently not a Sony decision. We know that NCSoft was working on a Horizon MMO.
Yeah.
Supposedly, whatever was called Project H, they also have a Project J and a Project Pantera. The belief is that Project H was the Horizon MMO that was being worked on. Obviously, NCSoft with Guild Wars has.
I'm hoping Project J was a Jumping Flash MMO.
For sure. That's separate from the Guerrilla multiplayer game that's being worked on. I don't feel like this is as big a loss as the other two that we talked about last week because
it was a little more nebulous, and then also like it's what NCSoft is known for, is like making MMOs. So them having to cancel something that you don't even know how far along it was necessarily, like that's okay. I mean, they can make something else in that wheelhouse, or like it's not like I think the tragedy for like Blue Point Games specifically is like what you said last week, is like what are they going to make for the rest of this console cycle? Nothing, because it would take it. Let's say even like tomorrow they're like, okay, we're making another game. It would take them at least 3 or 4 years to spool up to make it. They're not going to just crap something out in 6 months.
Yeah, unless they're just doing a straight like just remaster, upres in the graphics or whatever.
Right.
But if they're doing a remake that it of Demon Souls,
right,
that's still going to take them.
Yeah, Jens and I talked about that, and he was like, "Well, it's not really any big loss." And I was like, "You like that Demon Souls, remake?" He's like, "Well, it it changed a little from what the original was, and they didn't. It wasn't like 100% faithful or whatever." I'm like, "Well, I
It's a
played this
remake,
one,
boy.
yeah, and I liked this one, so."
Yeah, a lot of people did, right? I mean, they also did the Shadow of the Colossus remake, which was well received too. I mean, like,
right.
They could have done a remake of another game, right?
Right.
Actually, what I thought when people started doing rumors of, oh, they're doing remasters of God of War, the other God of War games, I thought maybe Blue Point was doing that.
Yeah.
And now they announced that it was that live service game, and it's like, again, who's like, this seemed like more like of a Sony just kind of said, hey, NCSoft, can y'all do how much do we need to pay you to do a Horizon MMO
Right.
or whatever?
Yeah.
And then her NCSoft just the budget wasn't there, or
yeah, it felt very much like a pay for game type of thing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they didn't want to pay for it, or it wasn't going how they wanted. Sony was probably right to step away from it, or
exactly.
Or if it wasn't like up to NC's soft standards, they're like, all right, well, we're just gonna quietly shelve this or whatever. But like the Blue Point stuff, or even like the Ben Studios stuff, it's like, that's a downer.
Yeah, after Concord, it feels like Hiroki Totoki, after he had the kind of damning thing to say, was he's just kind of going through the books and going, okay, this is not gonna go anywhere. This is not going anywhere. Or maybe he's having to tell Herman Hulst, like, we got to make some of this money back. We got to make some of this budget back. You need to start going to these studios and figuring out which ones are going to be, canceled. Hopefully nobody loses jobs or whatever, but it's just like, obviously, you're not going to kill your baby in the Horizon multiplayer game because, he's from Guerrilla and all that stuff.
Let's be honest, he should.
But it's just like, and Herman Hulst has, it's interesting to me, like, where it's like, okay, I get it that you want him to keep his, you obviously you decided on this 2 CEO thing. And it's like it feels like Herman Hulst has a lot to do with, along with Jim Ryan, why we're in this place that we're in. It's like,
Yeah.
so he's CEO still. Why? I mean, obviously you got to give him credit for the good stuff too, but it's just,
It's funny that like if you compare Guerrilla Games to like Naughty Dog makes like 3 games, maybe 4,
yeah,
and they move into something else, or they always have like at least 1 or 2 other things kind of in the works. Horizon, Guerrilla Games has been stuck on Horizon since 2017.
Mhm.
It's okay, but not super, the most popular thing in the world, and they just keep like that's like their only money maker, or like their only thing they're interested in now. It's like, no.
I mean,
Move on
apparently
to
Forbidden West sold a lot better than Zero Dawn. Still not the numbers I think they definitely wanted it to hit or whatever.
right.
Now they're making a movie. The TV show didn't work out.
Like
This MMO didn't work out.
I may have specific issues with like how the intergalactic character looks, but like I'm interested in that game as a whole.
Right, because
And
Naughty
like
Dog doesn't miss. Right.
they're not like, I mean, they made Jack X, so they're not infallible.
I know, but I mean, since Last of Us,
right.
since Uncharted, do they really miss? No.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the thing, is like, we know we can trust Naughty Dog. Same thing with Insomniac, right? You can trust them, at least from the Sony side of things. They've made some bad games.
But like both the studios are just a tad more creative than Guerrilla, unfortunately. So
Right. And it's like, well, Guerrilla, they're done with those past franchises of theirs. They've said so. This is kind of the thing that they want to do. We know there's a Horizon 3 somewhere in the works there.
yeah.
That VR game didn't work out either. I forgot to mention that. So, so it's like there's a lot of that franchise that they've, and even Shuhei Yoshida said it. He said, I was surprised and shocked at how well we expected Horizon to do, and it didn't do what we wanted it to. So it's like, and they've kept on with the series, and commendable for Sony to let them have their franchise. But
that's another game, like Forbidden West specifically. I talked about this like last week. If that game was like 20% smaller, and the budget was 20%, I mean, you can't really quantify a percentage to like dollar, but if they were able to shave off 20% of the game and shave off like 10 to 20% of the budget, that game still would have been a-okay size wise. Like that game is like massive in scale, and it doesn't need to be. Like, make a smaller, more concise game, please, and I'll be much happier.
I agree with you there. I think also, I mean, just to bring up Insomnia, because Ted Price retired after 30 years of being with the company, which, wow, that's a long time. I mean, he's been around since the beginning. He's a co-founder ever since their first game was around for the successes of Spyro, and then obviously working with Sony the first time around to do Ratchet and Clank. And
I mean, there aren't a lot of these old guys left that like I wouldn't say started the company, but like have been with the company like forever. It's Ted Price was one, Miyamoto is another, even though he's a little stepped off now, but he's still like at Nintendo, obviously.
Shuhei just retired, right?
Yeah. But even like the old guard you would think of, like John Carmack or Cliff Bleszinski, like they've been gone for years.
Right.
It's like, what happened?
Well, I mean, they went to go do their own things, right? Cliff Bleszinski didn't work out. Even though I guess he's now trying to bring back Lawbreakers, or I don't know where that finally ended with that. But Ted Price, he carried him through. He helped the studio through all these times, right? From the beginning through the Ratchet and Clank years to going away from publishing to doing Fuse to doing oh god, what's the Xbox one that I can't think of?
Sunset Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive. to then coming back to Sony, because at one point they wanted to own all their IPs.
Right.
They didn't get to own Spyro. They didn't get to own Ratchet and Clank. And so like they wanted to own their IPs. They did a bunch of stuff with Oculus for a while. And did a bunch of games for them. And then they came back to do Spider-Man, and Sony finally bought them after that. There's been rumors that Sony tried to buy them before that, but like it's never been kind of plainly stated by anybody that they did.
I could see that, especially like when
yeah.
they made Fuse, before they made Fuse and Sunset Overdrive. Sony's like,
Yeah,
hey, we
because
want to buy
Ratchet
you.
and Clank was successful for the
Right.
most part, aside from the the movie that didn't do that well. But honestly, oddly enough, they had a statement saying that they would be open to doing more Ratchet and Clank, other medium stuff, which maybe with how Sonic is popular,
Yeah,
but
if you drop Ratchet and Clank on Earth and hook them up with James Marsden,
maybe you do Jack and Daxter Ratchet and Clank team up or something. But the thing is, Ted Price was so pivotal to them that they actually have to have 3 CEOs to take his place. 2 of them are not game developers. One of them is a marketing guy. I think it's Chad DeZern is the marketing guy. Then Yen Huang is their like CFO that is now going to be the CEO, and then Ryan Snyder also. And it's like, wow, it's crazy enough that Sony has two CEOs themselves. I've never heard of a big company having 3 and it working out.
yeah, I mean, one will get kind of cast off. Like, they should honestly just have the CFO guy and the biz guy there. Like, you don't need a marketing CEO. Like,
yeah, like the one dev, right? That hey Crafty, what's going on? Happy to know that you're watching live here. It's weird. Like I understand, okay, have the dev so that he kind of has that experience of working with the teams that way, and then
right.
like have the CFO, and then you can have the marketing guy go back to doing whatever. I don't know if it was okay, we're promoting all of them because we don't want one of them to leave or something like that, but it's just like, man, 3 CEOs, like that just seems like a recipe for not good stuff. I mean,
Right.
we know they got 2 high profile games coming, right? Wolverine's coming at some point, whether it's next year. I don't think it's coming this year. And then Spider-Man 3 down the line somewhere. And that's kind of it, right? So
And then go back to Sunset Overdrive.
yeah, I mean, hey, they could technically, right? They don't have to have Microsoft's approval for that. They technically could make Sunset Overdrive if they wanted to, but Sony would also have to kind of like okay that.
Right.
Which I don't know, maybe with this thing again where Xbox is putting their games on PlayStation, maybe they'll all kind of come to a head and say, hey, what if you make this multi-platform? Let's all do it, right? I don't know, but it's not like Sunset Overdrive sold like crazy numbers either.
No, I'm
But it's a
making fun of
beloved
it.
game, yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, like you said, there's not a lot of these guys that have been around 30 years or whatever in the industry
Right.
still around like that. That's not we're at Nintendo.
Yeah, like Mark
So
Cerny's still around. They still trot him out, but he's not like a game developer per se.
right,
He's like
he's helping with the consoles when they
tech guy, or so.
yeah. But we move to we're gonna talk about the one game that we're gonna talk about that Mark's been playing because I can't talk about the 2 games that I've been playing due to embargo. Other than that, both of them are indie. I'm not playing some big AAA game, but you're playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yep.
You mentioned on PC.
Yep.
You mentioned you did the review already. What'd you end up giving it?
I actually give it a 10.
A 10. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it is better on PC, or at least on my PC, because I have
Right.
a good PC, so it helps. So I
Right.
ran it like 90 frames a second.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it dips like occasionally, like in like weird spots, but like nothing like it'll dip like to like 88 frames a second. It's not like 20 or anything like that. It just feels a lot snappier and better. Uh, the weird thing is when I first ran it, it had audio issues.
Mm,
Where every
okay.
4 seconds the audio was cutting out of everything,
Oh
like
man.
the music, sound effects, voice acting. It's like that opening scene where like Zack is carrying Cloud
Right.
into Midgar, and like you see the helicopter carrying the bodies out. Like so, like I did a bunch of stuff on the PC, like updated the drivers. I even like busted it down to like low like graphics, and that didn't fix it. I think it was like an actual weird issue with like the PS5 controller, because I loaded the game up without it and it ran fine. And
Yeah.
then I plugged it in and then it was still running fine. But like before, when it's messing up, I already had it plugged in, like when I started the game, and it may have just been like confusing the audio signal, like trying to send it to the controller as well for some reason. I don't know, but it's fixed now. That's an important thing, and it's cool.
And it, looks a lot better.
Yeah,
I'd imagine. Like you said,
yeah, like
running at
the
90 frames per second and not
I,
looking like a
I can get it to 120 actually. Kind of no problem. Uh, the two things I'll point out. And this isn't about the game, which I think is good. Like it's the same game, so
yeah.
if you don't
It's
like it, that's fine. But so PC Gamer wrote a review of the game, and they gave it a 68 out of 100. And
wow.
no, like that's that's like a weird axe to grind. And like the review is like, oh, it's just kind of wheel spinning and nothing really happened. And they mentioned like the repetitive nature of the regions, and it's like, well, they're repetitive kind of, but you don't have to do most of that shit if you don't want to. Like you can just go. Like it's
I
not.
mean, you're not wrong. There's a lot of people that had it. Like I talked about this when we talked about the game being our game of the year, or whatever. This was a sentiment that the further away we got from the game coming out,
Yeah,
more and more people had this sentiment of, oh my god, you're just spinning your wheels so you get to the end, and it's so much doing the same thing over and over. And it's a lot of this stuff feels mandatory, even though it's not. And because I want to experience everything, and it's like, well, technically, you don't have to, right? Like you
yeah.
said,
Like you don't have to do all the battle simulations or most of that shit. If you want to, you can just avoid it and move on.
you don't
Uh,
have to do a lot of the extra stuff. You don't have to do the. I mean, I get it that the stuff with Gilgamesh is cool. So that
right.
means you have to do some of those terrible mini games also. But like,
But yeah,
you know,
the
it's
the two other funny things is the dude reviewing it for PC Gamer. He reviewed it on because he gives his PC specs out a
uh
2060 Ti, like an NVIDIA 2060 Ti, and it's like, dude, that's old. Like that's like five
yeah,
years old, maybe 6 years old. Like,
right.
yeesh. Like I would assume. I don't know if this guy like is like a freelancer or if he like writes for this like a staff writer or something, but you'd assume
Mhm.
PC Gamer would have PC Gamer type rigs, not something like from 5 years ago. And the other funny thing about PC Gamer, and this is separate from the review, they wrote another shitty article about how the game doesn't run well on the Steam Deck, and it's like,
Oh, wow.
no, no fucking shit, it doesn't run well, you idiots. Like they're like, oh, it's not as good as it doesn't look visually as good as Metal Gear Solid 5 and Mad Max. It's like, are you guys stupid? Like those games came out a decade ago. Like
Yeah,
I would I would say the fact that it runs at all on the Steam Deck is kind of a miracle. Like and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah, I
it drops
mean,
down."
there's people that
frame.
know how to optimize really well for the Steam Deck and stuff, but there's a lot of things that don't run well.
Yeah,
Like, I think Keith talked about Eternal Strands doesn't run that great on the
right,
Steam Deck. Like, there's it, you know, there's games that are great for Steam Deck, and there's games that like, you're gonna be able to run it, but it's not gonna be amazing because it's
right.
just too difficult for the Steam Deck.
Yeah, too demanding, or the Steam. Even when the Steam Deck came out, it wasn't like the pinnacle of technology. Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like I think they also like they mentioned it during this like they're actually very similar to the Xbox Series S specs.
yeah,
So it's like if the Series S had problems running stuff, do you think that the Steam Deck's going to be able to run that?
right.
Like,
So I
I'm
think
pretty sure Series S is going to have a problem running this game if it ever shows up on Xbox, right? Like
right.
it's
Or it'll be like the 720p version or like 1080, like.
right.
But it's just like really baffling. Like, who has an axe to grind at the editorial board for PC Gamer? It's like, get a life.
Yeah,
But
it feels like maybe they didn't I don't know if they necessarily I'm sure that they do their research with the people that they bring on as a freelancer or whatever, like what are your specs on your PC, but like I don't know. Maybe because they thought, okay, well, this game's old. Like people have
right,
already played it on PS5, so it doesn't really matter. We don't have to be running it at the, a 40 with a 4090 or all that stuff to
right.
review it.
But I would say if you're getting, if you're get if you're getting that Rebirth or remake, obviously, like you need a powerful machine to run it. Like,
Right.
let's not play around here, guys. Like, you don't
Yeah,
need
definitely.
like a $5,000 computer to run it or anything like that, but you need a decent computer.
I mean, there's a reason why it looks so much better on the PS5 Pro, right?
Right.
So,
So
uh,
yeah, I like it quite a bit. The only thing I kind of wish it did have, I wish it had a benchmark mode, because it
yeah,
does have a decent amount
okay.
of graphical options, and having something like tested out would be actually helpful. Because Final
Yeah.
Fantasy 15 had that, but these later ones don't.
Speaking of Final Fantasy 15, you brought that up. This Rebirth apparently has the highest concurrence of any single player Final Fantasy game ever
Yeah,
on PC.
that's what happens when you launch it on Steam, as well
Yeah,
as.
that's true, right? That you don't have the stupid epic. I don't know that remake would have done those numbers, but it probably would have done something similar. Like I think it would be a lot higher on the list
Right.
had it come out on Steam instead of being a year later. Yeah.
Speaking of that, I had a because I don't have remake on PC,
Yeah.
but I still wanted that fucking materia, the import your save materia.
Yeah.
So I had to download a save like from remake, and then like hack it into Rebirth. You have to like
Nice.
find your Steam ID and then create a folder and then put the save in there, and then like other cookie. And the other nice thing about the PC version, that one of my complaints about the game initially was like the fire ice materia, you could only get one, or like the wind thunder, or like lightning material, you can only get one per game.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore.
Oh well, is it because of a mod or something?
I just have Cheat Engine, and it has like a
Okay.
materia editor, so you can change materia into whatever you want. So
Right
I
on.
have like you can do that, and then you can like max it out.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to like abuse it too much, but it's like, yep, I'm just gonna give everyone one fire ice and one wind thunder and let them go.
Makes the game a lot easier, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I really hated the materia juggling in Rebirth.
Yeah, that was annoying. Not gonna be definitely that. It would have been so nice to have like a auto remove and like just have different slot, like a set that you could
Yeah, like
already have.
set A, set B,
Yeah.
or like when they separate your party, so it's like, oh, now I'm controlling Barrett and Red 13 to this fucking cave. It's like, okay, put the assess materia on Barrett, put the heal materia on the dog or the cat, So, but I obviously didn't finish the game or anything, but I'm in like the end of the Junon region. And yeah, that game really still holds up. I mean, I think it's better on PC than PS5. So that's why I gave it a higher score.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes
Yep.
sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, I'll go ahead. Sorry.
No, I bought a copy of Star Ocean for PS1.
Nice.
Yeah, it's getting cheap. It's getting cheap, so I'm like, all right, screw it.
Might as well. Also, before we get off the Final Fantasy remake train, there was a story this week from Hamaguchi-san where he talks about two things. One, that people misconstrued his quote about the mini games. He says they're not going to remove the amount of mini games. He's just going to change the way that you have to do them in the game, whereas probably more of going to make them more optional than they are, but that they're still going to be a huge amount of them.
That's bad, I think, because it's like just have like 10 good mini games, not 20, and half of them are like mediocre to bad.
Well, but if you don't have to do most of them, then why does it matter? They're just there for your.
Well, I'm sure it'll still count to some progress in the game somewhere. Like that fucking.
Yeah, I mean, he also mentioned that they're definitely going to make the platinum a lot easier. But
well, and not even that. Remember that getting the 7-star hotel?
Yes. Yeah.
All the arcane shit you had to do for that. It's like, oh my god. But also, why have it at all? Like, it's just resources that like you don't need it. Like, it's just you don't need to spend the resources on this crap. Like, either make the overall game better or make like the 10 mini games that are in the game better. Don't have,
Well, I mean, if they want to try to do the original justice and have all the mini games, then that makes sense, right? Like
what, like the Red 13 Rocket League thing?
Not the Rocket League bullshit, but
yeah, like.
Look, they obviously made ones up that weren't in the original and a lot of stuff just to add more, and that's fine. Like, look, I just think that they shouldn't have been. They should have been more, made it more obvious that a lot of them were optional. Which that was the problem. Like, nobody knew unless you purposely failed. That you could fail out of the. What's it called? Why can't I think of the card game? Queen's Blood. The Queen's Blood tournament on the ship. Until it's like, oh, you have to like go into a corner and select that you don't want to be in it, and then you don't realize that it doesn't really do anything. You don't miss anything if you don't do it. Other than I think you would probably miss there's
a trophy
Red 13 thing. So it's like
yeah,
and the trophy, right? The trophy of doing all the Queen's Blood stuff. So but that's it. I mean, that's a whole storyline that they did with Queen's Blood, and that makes sense of its own accord. But the other one that was kind of making the rounds more because of their strategy now, very similar to Xbox's, of they want to do everything multi-platform. They don't want to be exclusive to only Sony systems because they want to make the most money possible. But they're a third party. That makes more sense, right? Apparently they're kind of letting you know that for sure Final Fantasy VII Part 3 is going to come out before the PS6 because it will not be a PS6 exclusive. Probably more likely that it's saying that it will come out on PS5 also.
No, it's going to be like a Breath of the Wild where it's on both.
Yeah.
And
I honestly still think that it's coming out 2027, the whatever year anniversary of Final Fantasy VII that is, 30th year anniversary. I still think that they're aiming for that, and I don't think we're going to get the PlayStation 6 by then. Unless, go ahead.
I could see PS6 coming like 2028, possibly.
That was the idea originally, or I could see it come like late 2027, like after the game's already come out. And then they have a super like deluxe.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. They're gonna have some three game collector's edition or It comes with a life-size Sephiroth statue, and it costs
Yeah, with
$10,000.
yeah, and like, oh, it'll all look pretty because now it'll be this is for PS6 graphics or
Right.
whatever. And you can buy it all over again. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
speaking of that, my roommate got a PS5 Pro. Good for
Oh,
him. But so his room is like 20 feet away, 25 feet away from like where my room is and where the router is because it's in my room. He can't access the 5G network.
really?
Yeah, it's like doesn't even like show up uh, on like his list of available networks. And I think it's because he's right above my downstairs neighbor's modem or her like Wi-Fi source. So it's like so strong, it's like
Have you
overloading.
tried like connecting it wired or something just to see if it'll?
No, can't he like bring his console in here, but I'm
Yeah.
connected to it. I'm connected to it via wired. But like I tried to like look for the Wi-Fi network and I could see it just fine.
Yeah.
So
So it's not that the Wi-Fi network doesn't exist; it's that like his
right.
PS5 Pro can't find it or something. That's weird.
Yep.
But yeah. So at least that's some good news that for sure it's coming to PS5. So people that own PS5s that maybe don't want to rush out and buy the PlayStation 6,
Right.
or can't, depending on how pricey it is. Be rest assured that you'll be able to play the whole thing on PS5, which that's good because I think most people want to be able to do that. Uh,
Right. And all the
especially
saves will import.
yeah, exactly. All those saves are important. Everything. I mean, that's what I care about. I want it to be able to be played on the system I own, the PS5, uh, and hopefully it will run well on the
Oh,
PS5, and I don't need to feel like I have to
what?
buy a PS5 Pro for the.
Whatever. When it comes out on the Switch too, you get it on there as well.
You know what? I'll buy it on Xbox too. Why not? It's like no, I'm no. I don't want to rebuy too many things. It's like these games are way too expensive already to be rebuying games that much. But yeah, so there's your Final Fantasy Part 3 news for this week. We'll see what quote they have Hamaguchi or Kitase say next week. I feel like they have him constantly talking about something.
Right.
Really quick to end the PlayStation stuff here. Resident Evil movies. It's getting a reboot again. Not surprising. I mean,
Hey,
Resident Evil is
third time's a charm.
Resident Evil is at its highest peak it's been. As far as a series of franchise that people are really enjoying and liking the remakes and whenever we get Resident Evil 9, rumors are that the next remake is going to be Resident Evil 0, apparently. Which, to be fair, it really does need that. It has the terrible tank controls and whatever.
So does Code Veronica. Like,
Well, you know how they go with. I feel like Code Veronica is going to be like the last one at this point. And also Resident Evil 6 got like rated for Series X and PS5 apparently. But that's supposed to be like a port, not necessarily the remake. So I don't know. But okay, yes, like Mark said, this would be the third go around with the Resident Evil movies. According to the Hollywood Reporter, this is the next PlayStation Studios movie thing, but there are also other studios that are bidding for the movie, including Warner Brothers and Netflix. Constantine's owned the rights to it until recently. And they did try to bring it back with that Welcome to Raccoon City, which was fine. It's just it was super low budget.
It wasn't the worst thing, yeah, but it was too low budget, and the story was just kind of all over the place, and it had bad casting.
Yes, that
or some bad casting. I actually do I like the chicks they had playing Jill and Claire. I just like those actresses.
Agree. Claire was really good too.
Yeah, Kaya Scodelario, I think is her name.
Yes.
Chris was okay, but like the guy that had Leon was like terrible.
Yeah, Leon character was something. But yeah, we'll see what that is. Are they going to try to make it more like the games? Are they going to do their own thing? Is it going to have anything to do with like? Are they going to try to start with Resident Evil 1, or are they going to do the Mila Jovovich thing of just, oh, this is going to be its own thing and have nothing to do with following the
Remember the
story of
TV
the
show?
main? Yeah. Oh God.
It always works well when they do their own thing.
That was something. I mean, like, I wanted to like that.
The bummer about that show is like that's like the last thing Lance Reddick was in.
Yeah, man. Because of Lance Reddick, I wanted to like it a lot. And
right.
Then, that's what happened. You know. All right.
Oh, they announced Sonic 4. The movie is coming like 2 years from now.
I mean,
they
that's
actually gave like a release date. Like, it's coming out now. It's coming out then.
Yeah. Okay, I mean that's good.
The plot is supposed to be some like multiverses thing, so it'll be like Sonic's meeting up from different, universes.
We're finally gonna get the big Bid the Cat.
Right, he'll be the bad guy of it all.
I think the rest of the stuff we can start just doing the quick hits part here. Oh boy. Not surprised at all with all of this terrible news about Ubisoft. They have laid off 185 employees and also closed Ubisoft Learnington, which was the previous Freestyle Games, which was the DJ Hero developer. Loved DJ Hero the first one. They made some creative stuff with from Freestyle Games. Unfortunate that they bought it, and then now that studio is closing, and all these people are losing their jobs.
So. Oh, they bought it and then didn't do shit with it except for like support studio for Skull and Bones and Star Wars Outlaws. So great.
They're restructuring Ubisoft Dusseldorf, Stockholm, and Reflections, along with closing.
Why do they even have studios in Dusseldorf? Like what the fuck?
Ubisoft has way too many freaking studios for one.
Yeah, they have all these like satellite support studios or satellite studios. It's like no wonder like you can barely make a game, or it's such a schizophrenic mess most of the time nowadays.
I mean, I guess it helps them not have to go use contractors, but it's just like, my lord, man, how many studios do you need to have?
Big companies use contractors. It's like a contractor is good because you don't have to keep paying those people money after the fact. They do 6 months or a year or 2 years, and then they move on. You and them move on. You don't have to make Ubisoft Dusseldorf, to support the 20 people that work in that country, that city for you. Like,
it's they were also supported on Avatar and Far Cry 5 also, but listen, it sucks for these people losing their jobs, as I always say every time we have to talk about layoffs.
Right.
It's just Ubisoft just continues to have bad press, even with the sort of mostly positive Assassin's Creed Shadows previews.
Yeah, I read one or two, and they seemed okay.
Outside of some outliers, like I think Skill Up didn't like it necessarily, but most people, the leading deal is that apparently Nawe, I think her name is, she plays like the assassin that you would expect.
Yeah.
Whereas Yasuke is like the brute, and he doesn't have the skill, the parkour and stuff, which bothers a lot of people apparently.
It's a bit like how Assassin's Creed Syndicate was.
Yeah.
I mean, they did kind of play the same, but like the brother of him was more of the brute / like brawler character, and the sister was like the actual assassin. So
yeah, man, it feels like that's the thing, is like a lot of people were like, the Yasuke gameplay was one of the things that they were supposed to be working on this time that they're delaying, but they definitely did try to make them different. There's just seems to be people that have problems with the fact that essentially like nobody asked to be able to play with a character like that. And you gave that to us, and it's like, then you add in all the grifter stuff or the stuff about not culturally accurate or whatever the hell. And
I've been really enjoying the Asmongold videos on this thing, because he makes a video about shadows every 2 days, and he's bitching and moaning about it constantly.
oh, Lord.
And it's like, dude, you've never even played Assassin's Creed before. Like, why do you have 14 videos on this bullshit?
Because he's the number one grifter, dude. Like,
like, you don't care about it all. So
it's like that dude. He just tries to find anything negative that he can make a video on, and obviously it works.
I mean,
right?
There are some points, like, not about this game, obviously. There are some points I agree with him with about specific other games, but like this game, he's like living rent free in his head, and it's like, dude, like, get a life, or
exactly. Do something else, man. Find something else to go hate on. But aside from that, it's just like it's continued to be negative for this team. And man, if Shadows does not hit targets,
right?
I hate to think about what other heads are going to roll figuratively.
Not the one that matters, unfortunately.
Yes, exactly. Fortunately, the one that matters, that should be stepping down or taking a pay cut or doing something, starts with a Y, is not doing it. And it's very sad that he continues to be able to just be there, trying to set some kind of thing like we talked about last week, and somehow somebody doesn't try to do something to remove these people from power. So speaking of not hitting targets, unfortunately for Dragon Age Veilguard, did not hit sales targets, to the fact that EA is pulling a Microsoft and not even talking about sales numbers. They are talking about 1.5 million people interacted with the game.
So 1 million people downloaded the demo, and then
not just the demo, it's they bought it through EA Play,
right?
Or did the trial and then continue playing. And of course, the writing didn't help. The story around it didn't help, about the all the different gender bending and all the stuff, storylines and whatever. The creative director, the game's director, Corin Bush left. She said apparently she got an offer she couldn't turn down at another CRPG studio, or making another CRPG. But she was happy with what she did at BioWare. She brought him back to, I guess, some semblance of riding the ship, as she called it. Apparently, according to EA, this was not riding the ship.
Right.
It seemed like it was doing well, right? Like it was on the charts for October and November, and then nada, right? And that it just sucks. I hate that for the team. I hate that for the teams, but
I dislike it. But on the flip side, did you know about Unknown 9? That disaster?
Yeah, the Bandai Namco.
Yeah, that, like, they should have known better, but also like the fact that they're trying to build this like whole big multimedia clusterfucktastic roadmap thing, when it's like, this is an unknown unknown property. Slow your roll a little.
Definitely don't understand.
Like we got comics, we got novels, we got podcasts, and it's like, yo, put out a good game first, then deal with this. Like, if it hits, then it's cool, but like,
no.
Yeah.
It's like, it sucks for Dragon Age, for the people that made Dragon Age. Like, apparently it was a good game, just wasn't a great Dragon Age, and then also it started as a live service game, and then She apparently saved it from, or kind of helped mold it into what it became, like the hybrid.
Right.
A lot of people didn't
I-
like that the worlds weren't big enough, and the mission structure wasn't great, stuff like that.
I really think. Well, I saw also the rumors that EA is going to close the BioWare Edmonton office, and I was like, that's not going to happen. At least not yet. But
No,
it just puts more and more pressure on Mass Effect 5. And
definitely. I've seen a lot. I've seen some people say that like either let them change their name, or maybe even get to the point of closing BioWare, because they're not the same people anymore. It's like a shell of what BioWare used to be.
I'm sure there's like some QA tester there who's been there since the beginning. That's about it. Or,
Right.
maybe
I mean, like,
one
but
audio engineer or something. But yeah, everyone who like made BioWare is pretty much gone.
yeah, I mean, I know
But
Platinum's kind of going through similar things where a lot of the old guard are leaving and things like that.
the problem with that though is the BioWare name still has at least some cachet.
Yeah, and I think that's why EA can't bring themselves to do it.
Yeah, they just changed like EA Edmonton or EA Canada or whatever. They're like, all right, whatever. Remember when they were so high on BioWare there like 10 years ago? They were changing all their studios to like BioWare Victory or BioWare for like a month, and then they reverted back because they're like, this is dumb. Like,
yeah, it's just like it's crazy how far they have fallen, to the point where, like you said, there's a lot of pressure now on Mass Effect 5 to deliver.
I think if Mass Effect 5 bombs or doesn't do as well, and let's face it, it probably won't. Look at like even like not Dead Island, Dead Space. That was a good game, or and that
Dead Space did pretty well for being a horror game. It's just they needed to do more than 2 million.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Units,
is like even if it did well, it's not well enough for EA, or didn't do like 10 million copies. And it's like it's not going to. Same with like Mass Effect 5. Like even if that sells like 3 million copies, they'll probably still look at it as like a disappointment or something. It's like, well, you guys are crazy though. So.
That's the thing, is they need it. It sounds like they needed Dragon Age Veilguard to hit like the 3 million.
Well, that was like their estimate or their forecast.
Yeah.
3 million, and so they got like 1.5. It's like, well,
no, they didn't sell 1.5. They're saying 1.5.
No, I know that's just engagement or whatever. Yeah, but
so I wonder if it even sold 1 million.
Yeah,
like that's kind of frightening. Honestly.
Hey, when it gets $20, I'll buy it.
Yeah, I mean, they're also complaining about EA FC25 didn't apparently do as well as they needed to, but it's still like the 5th best-selling game of the whole entire freaking year. But
right.
I mean, they also have ungodly expectations for those sports games to like give them so much money in the live service part with the Ultimate Team and stuff that I could believe that apparently it didn't hit whatever target, which is ridiculous. But
Yep.
Also they shut down EA Origin.
Which just like the old program,
right? Which you have to convert to the EA app, but apparently, if you don't have a 64-bit system, you cannot use it at all. So, and which they stopped supporting Windows 10. So the only way you can do it is having Windows 11 with a 64-bit system. So that's the only way that all of your games will convert over to the EA app if you only have them on PC. So yeah, if you don't have a upgraded system, and also this includes you have to have like a big a newer version of Catalina for the Mac part of it. So yeah, that sucks if you're kind of like locked out of your games because of losing.
I don't know. That's such a niche market or niche number that how many people really only have a 32-bit system? Like practically no one, unless they're like on a 20-year-old machine.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Unless you were using it to like play like really old games only or something like that.
Right.
Like, so I mean, any of the new stuff you wouldn't be able to play it anyway. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's really quick here, just because we always talk about this stuff. Oh, well, I should mention Lost Records, Blue and Rage got delayed. The second part of it got delayed till April 15th to give them time to don't nod, to give them time to be able to get it right. And the game's set over 2 timelines. The first part of it's still going to come out on time, uh, but apparently this is going to get this is the free update that's supposed to come later, so they're delaying it so that make sure it's good.
Yeah.
Um, Don't Nod's kind of been doing a little bit, different things. Jusant was well received. It was a good indie that was on Game Pass. So, um, yeah.
I still think their greatest game was Life is Strange, and
Oh yeah, for sure.
that's the problem. Is they keep making crap. They keep making stuff that doesn't really hit that well, and same as Life is Strange.
Yeah,
So
and now Life is Strange is kind of going through that with Tech Nine, where it's like, okay, you had True Colors, that did great, and then it's like,
I don't think True Colors did good though, did it?
True Colors did really well.
Oh,
So, and it got all that like Game of the Year stuff from people, whatever. So, but after that, it's kind of like they've really like bottomed out on that, and Don't Nod's been really hit and miss on that. U.S. physical game spending has gone down significantly since 2008, according to Matt Piscatella from Circana. He reports on this stuff. He's saying that essentially this got kind of exacerbated by the pandemic because we weren't going to go buy physical copies, and also the fact that the Switch has had a really down year, which the Switch kind of offsets a lot of the physical, the people buying digital to buy physical. Which like Nintendo has like their digital share is lower than everybody else's. Like theirs is at 20. They have a 22% share of people that buy physical. Whereas everybody else's Xbox, PS5 went up. Xbox was like 75% from 70. PS5's was 64 from 55. But Nintendo's is there at 22. A lot of people buy physical for Nintendo. So, yeah. Maybe the Switch 2 will help offset that again. But so far, we're still leaning towards that of like people are just delving more and more into the convenience.
right.
Doesn't help the PC is basically all digital as well.
Like
This.
I can't remember the last time you could like buy a PC game, digital or physically.
Yeah.
I think like I have a copy like Fallout New Vegas for PC.
I mean, really, what laptops or computers get made now unless you order it specially that have a disk drive at all?
Right.
So and I think Sony announced that they're not doing like rewritables anymore either. So for Blu-rays.
Yeah.
So
I did a list a week ago for 411 about like games I'm looking forward to this year, and like I think I did like 8 games. One of them is kind of a PC game. It's Civ 6 or Civ 7, sorry. But someone in the comments was like, "How come there's no PC games on here?" And I'm like, "Yo, dog, like, how many PC only games are there coming out this year that won't be on
it's like
consoles?"
you would have to go find the indies that always start out on
Yeah.
PC and they come into the consoles later. Like all the big games come to PC, but they also come to the consoles. I mean, so
Yeah, the guy was like, it's mostly console games. It's like, A, that's what I mostly play games on, and then B, like, yeah, what PC exclusive games are there?
yeah, it's like you're gonna the second World of Warcraft expansion,
Right.
whatever. Like you said, it's extremely rare that even the MMOs, like look at Final Fantasy 14, like that also comes to PS5. Like look at a lot of the like gotcha stuff that usually starts out on mobile and PC that also ends up coming to like PS5. So it's like,
Or even like, Hades 2 is on PC technically right now in like early access, but like
exactly
once it's done, it'll be on
it'll come
consoles
out
within like a month or whatever. Yeah, like
especially because when it hits Switch 2, that thing's gonna sell like crazy. So like, hey, that's where the people look. I have a news story right here that developers are making more PC games. It actually went up from 66% to 80%. Like,
Yeah.
PC gaming is going up. Like, it's especially with these forever games, the live service games, like the kids my daughter's age, 13, 14 and younger, they're either asking for the best tablet or the best PC because they want to play Fortnite or whatever in the best way possible. They're not asking for the console. It's very rare that people are asking for, like, I think there was a story of like nobody cares about the kids don't care about the PS5 Pros. Like, well, no, duh, they don't. They don't even have a PS5 to begin with. So why would they care about the PS5 Pro? And it's like, and for one, they can't buy the PS5 Pro. So why the hell are they going to care about it? It's like when somebody used to tell us that when we were kids, I can't think of the first time somebody did like the PS2 Slim or something. Like, I would hear a PS2. Why'd I give a crap about the PS2 Slim? It's like,
or PS1 Slim, or even like the SNES Junior versus the SNES. It's like,
like, who cares? Does it play? Does it do anything different? No. Then why do I care about it?
Right.
It's like the PS5 Pro does, but it's negligible as far as like what it really does compared to like the difference you would see on a PC. And then not only that, if you don't have the TV to make it look nice, it doesn't matter. So exactly, that's the point. I'm guessing your roommate does, or he wouldn't have bought it. So. But it's like I do, but I've seen the difference, and it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth fine enough. I don't need to buy it just to hopefully see that game better. It's like, But just really quick here, the best-selling PS5 was the best-selling hardware of the entire year. That's no surprise. Switch was down and Xbox is Xbox at this point. But it is tracking ahead of the PS4 by 7%, which is good for PlayStation. Xbox Series is trailing Xbox One by 18%. But again, they had different strategies at that point. So people don't need to buy an Xbox Series to play the Xbox games.
Right.
So, it is what it is. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was still the best-selling game of 2024, despite being on Xbox Game Pass. It did have a drop of like 9% compared to, was it Modern Warfare 3 last year?
I lost track of that franchise entirely.
So there is a drop, but I think it's not just the Game Pass part of it all. It's just probably like, there might be a little bit of a fatigue with Call of Duty. Also, the fact that Warzone exists, you don't need to have the latest Call of Duty to have the Call of Duty experience.
Right.
So if you only play multiplayer and you don't care about having Black Ops 6, you just play Warzone, or you play Warzone. I have friends, coworkers that him and his wife only play Warzone mobile.
Yeesh.
So, like, I'm telling you, man, people just these forever games. Why do I need to go waste money on Black Ops when I can just play this? Yeah.
That was a funny thing last night with my roommate when he got his PS5 and was looking it up, because I was like, he doesn't have a disc drive, and I was like, well, if you get one, you can borrow some of my games if you want. He was like, I'll give Destiny 2 a shot. I was just thinking, like, good use of a $700 console. Like,
yeah, of all the games there. The other games on this list here, EA Sports College Football 25 is the number 2 best-selling game of the entire year in the United States. People really miss that college football. Helldivers 2, Dragon Ball Sparking 0, amazing for that franchise to sell that much. NBA 2K25, Madden 25, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, God. EA Sports FC 25, Elden Ring. That expansion helped a lot there.
Yep.
And the EA Sports MVP bundle with Madden and college football. altogether. I think Rebirth was like 18th or something like that. Grand Theft Auto 5 and Minecraft, I think, still sold better than Rebirth. But at least Rebirth was on there because Astrobot was not on there at all.
Right.
So it was on there for the PlayStation one, the one that's on the PlayStation, but not the one that was for the entire year. So hey, no surprise, folks. People like those games that you buy once a year and play with your friends. I mean,
Right.
it is what it is. The only new game, Helldivers 2 also falls into that category. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is kind of like the only one that's
That got
kind
like
of,
a surprising amount of buzz,
yeah.
because it's a bad game, or but I think
It's like
Dragon Ball's
getting
like,
bad if people, I mean, a lot
well,
of
I,
people
I
got
think it's like
it.
Dragon Ball is coming back into a more popular fashion these days.
Oh, for
So
sure, with Daima out there and everything, and then and obviously the sad passing of Toriyama and all that. So, like,
yeah,
you know, it's I think they just restarted the Super manga not too long ago, so it's going. It's definitely getting back into that popularity, like you said. So that helps. As well, I think that's pretty much it. Other than also Earthblade, it's supposed to be the next game from the Celeste developer. It was been canceled. It's supposed to be the Metroidvania. Um, there's a big
well,
story behind it.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say
Matt, yeah.
go, you go.
No, Matty Thorson just said that, he was the R&D director, said that this was between Noel and Maddie, and then also Pedro, a founding member,
Yeah.
longtime friend and collaborator, art director of Earthblade, left as well. They all kind of decided. Apparently there was a disagreement between the IP rights of Celeste, between them, and that they are all going to go their separate ways. So,
Reminded of like when they canceled, or when that Phil Fish canceled, not Braid, but what's the one he canceled?
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking
Fez
about.
2, I think.
Yeah, Fez 2, yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, just behind the
Or
scenes drama.
also the ZAUM studio, the
Yeah,
Zone
me and Jens
Studio
were talking
College.
about that a few days ago because he still
Yeah,
wants that to happen, but it's like that's
yeah. That
no.
thing got so bad they all started making their own game or whatever, and all, like, there's 3 games in development, and it's like, okay, this is crazy.
Yeah. One
Yeah,
last thing I was going to mention is I don't. It just kind of announced today, but the Nippon Ichi software president just passed away.
yes, he
Uh,
did. I saw that.
so that's a bummer because I mean, Nippon Ichi isn't like my favorite company or anything, but they have a good style to their games and kind of a
Uh,
good sense of humor.
I mean, I think if the name doesn't ring a bell, they're kind of the ones known for Disgaea.
Yeah,
So
and Mordecai, like,
yeah, so
but they've been around for
um,
quite a while. Like, it's kind of
yes,
surprising. So I don't know if this guy's like running it all the way through or anything, but
right.
yeah,
Hey, 64 is still a young age to be passing, so
right.
sucks to see that. Um, we move from that to games that are coming out this week to end the show.
Yep.
As we always do, I mentioned Eternal Strands comes out tomorrow on Game Pass. You can go check that out. There's a demo also. If you don't have Game Pass, you can play that too if that strikes your fancy. The Carmen San Diego game, I guess like a reboot of
I saw a
the.
trailer of that and I was, what is this? Because you're playing as Carmen San Diego.
It's
I was
on.
like,
You can play it on Netflix, the
yeah,
Netflix app. I might check it out just because I loved that game when I was a kid on PC.
it ain't the same.
It's not. It's not. It has some of the same like vibes, I guess, but they changed
Right.
quite a bit of it. Cuisinier, or Moonlighter Junior, as I've heard some people call it, is coming out also on the 28th for Switch series, and for the console, it's already been out on PC. Neptunia Riders and Doggos also out on the 28th as well for your PS5, 4, and Switch. I already mentioned Orcs Must Die Death Trap, a game that I'm still waiting and hoping that the review code will come in. Tales of Iron 2, Whiskers of Winter is coming out on everything, also on the 28th. The Virtua Fighter 5 Revo also coming. That's the PC, like, was it remake of Virtua Fighter 5 or remaster?
I think it's just like some expanded
Oh, it's like
version.
expanded. Okay. And they're doing like an update of the PS4 game, but it's not getting all of this stuff that's in the PC game as well. Warside, which basically looks like an indie version of Advance Wars. Literally, it just looks like a indie version of Advance Wars coming out on everything. The current consoles also coming to the current consoles is there's a demo out for this too, the Stone of Madness, which is the next like game from that Blasphemous studio, which looks really cool. Like you have 5 different characters, and you have to like figure out how to make them all escape from this prison, and it's kind of set in like Spain or something, and it's really cool. Looks really cool. Has a cool art style. Definitely one that if you like those kind of games, you might want to go check it out as well. And then one, just because I saw Greg Miller talk about it on Kind of Funny, Cryptical Path comes out on PC on the 29th. It's a roguelike that you have to like build your own path, and then you continue on that path to like try to get to the runs and stuff. And Hello Kitty Island Adventure also comes out, which my daughter mentioned to me a few times about coming to PC and Switch. The Spider-Man 2 remaster or PC port, I'm sorry, is coming on the 30th. Sniper Elite Resistance, I mentioned already. Phantom Brave, The Lost Hero, which is a port of an older game, a remaster that's coming to Switch and the PS5s. And then Citizen Super 2, I mentioned already. As well. So, hey, lots of stuff coming here at the end of January. Sure there'll be something for everybody in all of that. Yeah. So and then we hit the big month, the review season month, the February, that's going to have a bunch of stuff from beginning to end. So get ready for that, everybody.
Yeah.
But all right, it will be February. The next time we're here, February 3rd, actually, when we're doing the show next. So until then, everybody, we'll see you later.
Later.
Bye.